Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got something exciting lined up for you. Let's jump right in. Here are 10 fascinating facts about the PSG-Marseille rivalry, also known as Le Classique, packed with intrigue, history, and the kind of drama that transcends football. 1. France's biggest football rivalry, Le Classique. In French football, no clash is bigger than Le Classique, the fiercely contested showdown between Paris Saint-Germain PSG and Olympique de Marseille. It's the League One equivalent of Spain's El Clasico or England's Northwest Derby, combining high-stakes football with deep cultural and regional divides. What makes it unique in France is that it pits the only two French clubs ever to win the UEFA Champions League against each other. Marseille made history first in 1993, becoming a jamais les premiers forever first when they beat AC Milan 1-0 in Munich. For over 3 decades, fans held that as an uncheckable bragging right, but in 2025, PSG finally matched, and in some ways surpassed, that feat, defeating Inter Milan 5-0 in Berlin to lift their first Champions League trophy as part of a historic treble, also winning Ligue 1 and the Coupe de France. This shift has changed the dynamic of the rivalry. Marseille supporters can no longer taunt PSG for lacking Europe's biggest prize, but they still lean on their first-to-do-it status. Meanwhile, PSG fans now see themselves as having erased the last major stain on their record, claiming total supremacy in both domestic and continental terms. 2. Historic head-to-head record. Over 100 meetings later, PSG have the edge, 52 wins to OM's 34, with 23 draws. That's not just a stat, it's a scoreboard in the ongoing debate over who truly dominates French football. In Ligue 1 matches alone, PSG's superiority is clear, 39 wins to 32, but perhaps more telling is their dominance in cup competitions. PSG have beaten Marseille in 13 of their 18 encounters outside the league, losing just twice. Historically, the balance of power has swung like a pendulum. In the late 80s and early 90s, Marseille were on top, collecting league titles under Bernard Tapie. By the late 2000s, the tide shifted. Since PSG's 2011 takeover by Qatar Sports Investments, their financial muscle has made them almost untouchable domestically, something that has driven Marseille fans to despise their capital rivals even more. 3. North versus South, capital versus province. To truly understand Le Classique, you must step beyond the pitch and into the map of France. Paris is the seat of political, financial, and cultural power, symbol of centralization and elite control. Marseille, in contrast, is a southern port city with a Mediterranean identity, shaped by immigration, working-class resilience, and a rebellious streak. For Marseille supporters, beating PSG is not just about 3 points, it's about humbling the arrogant capital. For Parisians, defeating means showing the provincials who truly runs French football. This cultural antagonism makes even a 0-0 draw at the Velodrome feel like a small war was fought. 4. Rivalry intensified in the late 1980s-1990s. While the first PSG game in 1971 ended for 2-2 for Marseille, the rivalry simmered quietly for over a decade. It wasn't until the late 80s that the tension reached boiling point. Bernard Tapie's Marseille were a powerhouse, star-studded, ruthless, and unapologetically ambitious. PSG, then owned by Canal+, were determined to challenge them. In the 1988-89 season, the title race came down to the wire. Franck Sauzé's late goal for in a direct clash broke Parisian hearts and lit the fuse for years of animosity. PSG president Francis Borrelli accused Tapie of influencing referees, a hint of the corruption scandal that would later rock French football. The media played up the North versus South divide, and suddenly every PSG match became a national event. 5. The 1993 corruption scandal, the most infamous chapter in Le Classique history, unfolded in Marseille's 1990-93 season, a campaign that remains both their greatest triumph and deepest disgrace. That year, dominated French football, winning Ligue 1 and, just days later, becoming the first French club to lift the UEFA Champions League, defeating AC Milan 1-0 in the final on the 26th of May 1993. It was the crowning achievement of Bernard Tapier's reign, but the celebrations were short-lived. Only days before that European final, allegations surfaced that Marseille had bribed Valenciennes players to go easy in their league match on the 20th of May 1993. The motive was straightforward: ensure Ulm avoided injuries before facing Milan. The scandal exploded in the French press and soon led to legal investigations. The French Football Federation (FFF) responded decisively. Marseille were stripped of their Ligue 1 title. They were relegated to Division 2 for the 1990-95 season. They were banned from defending their Champions League crown and from competing in both the 1993 Intercontinental Cup and the European Super Cup. In an extraordinary twist, the FFF offered the vacated Ligue 1 title to second-placed Paris Saint-Germain. PSG declined, fearing that accepting the trophy off the pitch would provoke public backlash, especially from Marseille fans, and tarnish their image as a competitive rival. As a result, the 1992-93 Ligue 1 title remains officially unawarded. To this day, Marseille supporters insist their Champions League victory proves they were still the best team in France that season. PSG fans and many neutrals see it as proof of Ulm's tainted glory, a permanent stain that fuels the rivalry's bitterness. 6. Violence and fan clashes. Few rivalries in Europe are as marred by crowd trouble. From flares and pyrotechnics to full-blown brawls, Le Classique has a history of violence. 1975, Marseille fans attacked the PSG team bus after a 2-2 draw. 2000s, repeated bans on away fans for security reasons. 2009, a flu outbreak at PSG postponed a fixture. 2000 Marseille ultras still gathered and clashed with police. 2015, PSG's bus was pelted with stones en route to the Velodrome. The most infamous recent episode came in September 2020. A tense, bad-tempered match at the Parc des Princes ended with 5 red cards after Neymar accused Álvaro González of racist abuse. The footage of Neymar slapping González remains one of the rivalry's defining images of the 21st century. 7. Dramatic matches that define the rivalry. Some PSG matches are remembered for their football, others for the chaos surrounding them. 1978, PSG 5-1-0 and their biggest win in the rivalry. 1989, Ulm 1-0 PSG title decider with Sazzi's winner. 1992, a brutal 1-0 when nicknamed the Butchery of 92. 2017, PSG's Edinson Cavani rescued a draw with a last-minute free kick at the Velodrome. 2023, Lionel Messi and Kylian Mbappé dismantled Ulm 3-0. Messi's 700th club goal, Mbappe's 200th for PSG. For supporters, these games are not just in the record books, they're replayed endlessly in pubs, on YouTube, and in arguments over who owns the rivalry. 8. Players who switch sides scorn and scars. Despite the mutual hatred, over 50 players have worn both shirts, a fact that infuriates fans. Notable examples: Gabriel Heinz left PSG for Ulm and scored against them. Lord Kana, a warrior captain for both clubs. Frederick Dehu booed mercilessly after moving to Ulm. The ultimate recent flashpoint came in March 2025, when Adrien Rabiot, once PSG's golden boy, returned to Parc des Princes as Ulm's captain. He was booed every time he touched the ball, with banners mocking him and even his mother. 9. Recent off-pitch drama and fan reactions. The rivalry isn't just 90 minutes on the pitch, it's woven into sponsorship deals, social media campaigns, and even alcohol brands. In 2024, Marseille-based Pernod Ricard announced a deal with PSG. Marseille fans saw it as betrayal. The company quickly backtracked. That same year, Ulm lost at home to PSG for the 12th consecutive time. Fans responded with hostile chants against both PSG and the French league itself. And when PSG finally won their first Champions League in 2025, many in Marseille celebrated. Inter Milan, Bars in Marseille reportedly replayed their own 1993 final just to block out PSG's glory. 10. Cultural, political, and symbolic dimensions. Above all, PSG versus Marseille is about identity. PSG are the chosen ones, wealthy and glamorous. Marseille are the street fighters, the underdogs with a chip on their shoulder. For Marseille fans, their jamais les premiers slogan, "Forever First," is a reminder that no matter what PSG achieve, they will never be the first French club to conquer Europe. For PSG fans, the Qatari era has rewritten the pecking order, turning them into a global super club and making Marseille's glory years seem like faded Polaroids. This is why Le Classique matters. It's history versus money, heart versus power, tradition versus modern football. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Got questions or ideas? Drop them below. I love hearing from you. Until next time, take care and stay awesome.